All right, so I picked up one of these cheap, like watertight connector kits off Amazon. Figured I'd try it out, see how well it works. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make one 2-wire plug here, and this will be for the light. And then I got my black wire and my orange wire. And this one's the starter. It'll go to the starter solenoid. And then this is for the tachometer. And then my three wires in here. This is my main positive, negative, and also the one that goes back down to the fuel pump and ignition coil. And obviously, down by the battery, I'm going to put an inline fuse holder in by the battery, so right at the source, it'll have a fuse to protect the wiring between here and there. So let's start stripping some wires back and make some plugs. All right, so I'm going to do some wiring. I got one of these cheap, like Amazon kits I'm going to show them before. I did some experimenting because it's technically for like 14 gauge is the largest wire size. And it comes out okay on 14. This is actually a 12 gauge, and it actually worked. I tested it. It worked just fine. You just have to make sure that at the tip, leave it pretty short. And then obviously you want to make sure you're, like if you're doing a pair, to make sure that they're pretty close to each other lengthwise, or you got a little bit of play. So we'll go ahead and strip some off of this one. So I don't want to strip too much off because you got to use these little like waterproofing clamp doohickeys. And then what you got to do is slide that on there. And then grab a pin. So I'm using all mil, obviously, on this one side. And then you can see here, maybe I can zoom in a little bit. Let's see. See how that works. Yeah, so you can probably see that. So the pin should clip there. You want to have your little yellow thing so that this front set of tabs up here, kind of see like these little wings, whatever you want to call it. See if I can get it focus on it. So you have like the back set that's supposed to hold the water. You have like the stretch leads, and you have that front set that's supposed to make contact with the wire. So I just want to get enough. This is kind of heavier gauge wire than it should be, and just enough so that those will make contact but not go too far. I notice with this bigger wire, if you went too far past, it causes it to poof out. And then when it does that, it won't make good. It won't go into the rest of the plug housing any better. So I'm going to grab a pin crimper. It's like one of these thingies here. These are ratcheting doohickeys. Came with the kit. It's like real cheap. But I've noticed that, for me at least, you can kind of see the jaws here. It's easier to get the pin. You probably can't see this very good. Get the pin started into here, and sometimes I have to squeeze these in a little bit so that they line up better with this crimping tool. And you just want to get it kind of so that it's going somewhat straight and started. So I'm going to squeeze them in a tiny bit more. So obviously, if you're using like smaller gauge wire, it seems like it works way easier. But since I'm kind of going overboard here, it's going to be a little more difficult. And keep my pin straight. Why does it keep doing that? Finagle the pin a little bit here. There, that's probably pretty good. You can kind of see now. I got the pin started. Focus. Kind of see the pin started and it's flush. And then I'm going to put the wire in. And then you put that little shoulder there. It's flush, and then I'm going to do that. And that's good and solid, as you can see there. And that's how I got able to get the bigger wires to work with these guys. So I'm going to get some convoluted tubing now to put over this junction. All right, so here's the plug side that I'm using. Let's see here. It's that. They only go in one way. They'll pull out the other direction. And then I also added some black heat shrink to make it blatantly obvious which side's going to be the ground. But I may have put a little too much on there, but I didn't shrink it down good. So and once it goes in there far enough, it's one way or the other, it'll lock. So let's see. There it goes. I don't know if you heard that. Made a little click sound. And now it's on there good. And should have paid attention which side that was, but I didn't. So let's try it on this one. So it's not really going in good like that. So let's flip her over. Get to make that click. It's in there good now. So now you can kind of see in here I got the two male pins sticking out, which I want to have the male pins on this side so when I disconnect it, you can kind of see the female side plug. That way if I ever want to disconnect, I can just pop these connectors off and not have to worry about getting shocked or anything. When I disconnect the main power feed, obviously, go into the fuse box. So I probably should reverse them actually for this because this is for the light, but whatever, not a big deal. And then I'm going to put some convoluted tubing to kind of wrap around it to protect them all. And then we're going to rinse and repeat this process for the rest of the wires. All right, so here it is all connected up. So I got the plug for the headlights, and I got the plug made up. It's another 2-wire one, so this is going to go down for the tachometer and the starter to the relay. And then I got this three pin here, which is the power, the ground, and then also the one for the ignition and the fuel pump. And it's kind of hard to kind of label here, but I don't know if you can kind of see it, but they're labeled here. It's got a 1, 2, and a 3 on it. So I just wrote that down so when I make the other side of these, then I'll know which one goes where. But this way, this will keep me from ever screwing up, plugging it back in. I won't have to think about it because things will only go together one way.